Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to True Crime with the Bad Girl with Playa and Dangerous Dave, and welcome to our very special Thanksgiving episode. I am Benny Scala, aka the Playa, aka Benny the Jet, aka Wally Cleaver, and with me, as always, is my lovely co-host. She's a professional wrestling Hall of Famer and the queen of the oldies airwaves. And being that we're giving thanks, I am very thankful that this delightful lady is my friend, and she's the one and only Brittany Brown. Brittany, how are you?
Well, thank you. I am doing very well. How are you guys doing?
Cannot complain. And again,
Good to hear.
speaking of thankful, I'm very thankful that this gentleman's my friend. He's the king of the carnival and the uncle of all pickles and sausages, Dangerous Dave Starr. Dave, how are you?
Couldn't be better for this Monday. I feel great. I feel alive. I got a lot of energy tonight. I got my testosterone's going. I think because of Thanksgiving's coming up. Me and Brittany got together over the weekend for our annual Christmas pizza get together, and I just feel happy and joyful. I'm going to be seeing my family this week, and I hope everybody out there has a great Thanksgiving and likes the podcast tonight. And as always, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me.
Amen. All right. Well, for those of you in Radio Land, thanks for listening on Want Radio. But we all look fabulous tonight, so you are missing out. But it's good. I mean, as long as you can hear us, that's fine. We're also now available on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Playa FM, Podchaser, and Boomplay. And please like and subscribe. And just a quick word from our sponsor. We need to pay the bills here, and then we will start this very, very good show. Let me find. There we go. True Crime with the Bad Girl, the Playa, and the Stars is brought to you by the Burbrower Law Firm. Folks, if you've been injured in a car accident, please reach out to our good friend Adam Burbrower at the Burbrower Law Firm. Adam and his crew do things the right way with great results. Not only is Adam a great attorney, but the dude has framed pictures of Ernie the Cat Lad, the unpredictable Johnny Rods, and our very own Boston Bad Girl in his office. How cool is that? If you see Adam at the community pool trying to nail that elusive triple Lindy, you'll notice superstar Billy Graham tattooed on his back and Bret the Hitman Hart tattooed on his chest. This guy is not only the man of the hour, the man with the legal power, too sweet to be sour, he is also the excellence of elocution. Besides being a great guy, Adam is a true crime aficionado and an avid WWF historian. Who else can get you a great settlement while breaking down Mario Mancini's greatest matches? Well, that one's a quickie. Check out Adam at burbrowerlaw.com and follow him on Facebook. And don't forget to tell him that the Bad Girl, the Playa, and the Stars sent you. Well, and last but certainly not least is Uncle Dave's Sausage. True Crime with the Bad Girl, the Playa, and the Stars is brought to you by Uncle Dave's Sausage. Are you hungry? Hungry for something thick, juicy, and just a little bit naughty? Introducing Uncle Dave's Sausage, the only meat that knows exactly how to fill your buns. Whether you like it spicy, smoky, or just plain stuffed to the brim, Uncle Dave's got the girth, the girth of flavor you crave. Morning, evening, a quick nibble at 3 a.m. No shame, baby. Uncle Dave's Sausage is served 24/7 at the carnival, where the rides aren't the only things that go up and down. You might have been into fitness, but once you've had the Uncle Dave's experience, the only thing on your mind will be fitting this sausage in your mouth. Slide it between two warm buns, slather it in mayo, or give it a good squirt of mustard if you're feeling frisky. Don't be shy. You know you want it. Everyone's lining up to take a bite. Even Grandma said it was the best thing to ever slap her in the mouth, because nothing slaps you in the mouth quite as hard as Uncle Dave's Sausage. So, folks, in the heat of the night or the light of the day, when your cravings for meat just won't go away, don't settle for Slim or some flimsy old link. Get Uncle Dave's Sausage. It's thicker than you think. Available now only at the carnival. Bring a friend or two. Uncle Dave's Sausage, the sausage you can't say no to. Dave, it seems like there's a very high demand from grandmas. I guess they like getting slapped in the mouth with the sausage there.
Yeah, well, they call them cougars. That's what they call them. The cougars
Okay.
like cougars like sausage, I mean, just because you're over 50 doesn't mean you're dead.
No,
You know?
I think, yeah. I mean, now what is the oldest consumer of the sausage there? How old? We getting like
Wow.
octogenarians or what? I mean,
Well, we got to go back to the 80s. I was probably 25, and I think I went over partying with a couple girls. One of them, I think, she had to be in her 50s, maybe close to 60. There was, I had no shame. I had no shame. Neither did she.
it's
To
so
be
funny.
honest.
Like, when you're in your 20s, 50 seems ancient, and then when you're 50, doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah,
Right.
well, I mean, as long as they can walk, I mean, they got, I mean, as long as they're able to walk, then they're able to have a sausage.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's not like riding, it's not like riding a ride, at a carnival where you got to be so tall to get on the ride. There's no height requirements.
like that sign must be this big to ride. Like that doesn't apply for the sausage, right?
Nah. The shorter the better.
No, we know that, Benny.
Yeah, we do know that. Yes. Are we kayfabing that? Yeah.
Yeah.
No height requirement for the sausage. That's a good thing. That's good to know.
No. Missing
All right.
fingers, it's okay. You can miss a finger or two. That's all right. It doesn't matter.
Those little Vienna sausages.
I don't discriminate.
No. Equal opportunity sausage.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we are this is going to be a special episode. We're going to take a trip down memory lane here in a little bit and do some nice recollection of our childhood Thanksgiving memories. But business first, as always, because true crime knows no holidays, not even Thanksgiving. So on November 26, 2016, 61-year-old Joel Guy Sr. and his wife, Lisa Guy, who was 55, was murdered by their 28-year-old son, Joe Guy Jr., following a family Thanksgiving dinner at their home in Knoxville, Tennessee. The bad girl and I will walk you through, albeit tactfully, because we don't want to kill your appetite for Thursday, right, bad girl?
Exactly. Yeah, these are some interesting. So, as we all know, family gatherings are usually times of warmth, reconnection, and gratitude, especially during Thanksgiving, a holiday built around sharing a meal and reflecting on what matters most. That makes the story of the Guy family deeply tragic, not just because of what occurred, but because it happened at the very moment when families across the country were coming together in love and appreciation. In November 2016, the quiet Knoxville, Tennessee neighborhood of Golden View Lane was shaken by the deaths of Joel Michael Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy, a couple known for their kindness, generosity, and devotion to their family. The case became national news not only because of the nature of the crime, but also because the person responsible was their own adult son, Joel Michael Guy Jr.
Wait, I got another picture of him. Hang on. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Sorry. Okay.
There you
Identical.
go.
There we go.
Good job. This report presents a factual, family-safe overview of the events leading up to Thanksgiving 2016, what is known about the holiday weekend, and the legal process that followed. The purpose is to understand the case in a respectful, non-sensational way that avoids graphic description while still documenting the significant legal and historical aspects. Joel Guy Sr., 61, and Lisa Guy, 55, were longtime residents of Tennessee. Joel Sr. worked as an engineer and Lisa worked in human resources for a medical company. Coworkers and friends consistently described them as friendly, hardworking, and deeply committed to their daughters and their only son. The couple had 3 adult daughters who lived independently, had careers, and were building their own families. Their son Joel Jr., however, had taken a different path. Born in 1988, Joel Jr. grew up in an environment, by all outward reports, was supportive and loving. He attended Louisiana State University and lived in Baton Rouge during the years leading up to 2016. Although he was in his late 20s, he had not completed a degree, held long-term employment, or established financial independence. His parents provided financial support, including tuition, housing assistance, and other expenses. By 2016, Lisa Guy was beginning to look forward to retirement. Joel Sr. was preparing for the same. With retirement planning came careful budget evaluations, and the couple reportedly told friends and family they were preparing to end financial support for Joel Jr., believing it was time for him to establish independence as an adult. This decision, discussed openly during the months leading up to Thanksgiving, appears to have been a key factor in the tragedy that followed. Thanksgiving 2016 was intended to be the last Thanksgiving celebrated in the Guy family home as the parents were preparing to relocate. All the siblings were invited. Photographs and messages from the weekends shows the family gathering for a traditional meal, sharing stories, and spending what should have been a peaceful holiday together. When the weekend ended, the daughters returned to their respective homes. Joel Jr. remained, excuse me, behind for an additional day at the house in Knoxville. Woohoo. At some point after the holiday meal and family bonding, events took a dark turn. While avoiding graphic details, court testimony later established that the parents were killed inside their home on the Sunday following Thanksgiving. After the siblings had already said their goodbyes, no neighbors witnessed the crime. No one immediately suspected wrongdoing. The house went quiet. Lisa Guy was known as a reliable employee who always arrived on time. On Monday morning, November 28th, her employer noticed she had not shown up for work and could not be reached. After trying repeatedly to contact her, they grew concerned and notified local authorities for a welfare check. When Knoxville Sheriff's Office deputies arrived at the Guy home, they immediately sensed something was wrong. The house was locked, there were signs of distress inside, and attempts to reach the residents failed. Deputies entered and discovered the couple had died. Due to the seriousness of the scene, a homicide investigation began immediately. Because we are keeping this account family friendly, it is enough to say that investigators quickly determined the deaths were intentional and that efforts had been made to conceal evidence. These findings pointed strongly towards foul play rather than any accidental cause. Inside the home, investigators discovered multiple items that belonged to Joel Jr. and indicated planning, including written notes outlining financial motives and logistical plans. Surveillance camera and retail receipts in Knoxville also showed that he had purchased supplies in the days leading up to the holiday. Physical evidence combined with the timing of his presence in the home led law enforcement to identify Joel Michael Guy Jr. as the primary suspect.
Hey, beautiful.
Yeah, at the time of discovery, Joel Jr. had returned to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where he was living. On November 29, 2016, law enforcement officers located and arrested him at his apartment without incident. After his arrest, Guy Jr. was extradited to Tennessee and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of felony murder, abuse of a corpse. He remained in custody throughout the pre-trial process. The case attracted attention due to the unusual combination of family dynamics, written planning documents, and the timing of the crime during a major holiday. However, the legal proceedings moved slowly. Various hearings addressed the extensive amount of evidence investigators collected, motions regarding admissibility of certain documents, psychological evaluations requested by the defense. Ultimately, Guy Jr. was found competent to stand trial. Although the crime committed in 2016, the trial did not begin until September 2020. Wow, that's a long time. It was held in Knox County Criminal Court and was broadcast publicly, drawing substantial media and internet viewership. The prosecution built a case on documented planning, including a notebook found in the home. It was actually in his backpack. Purchases made by Joel Jr. shortly before the crime, his presence in the home during the time frame of the murders, forensic evidence establishing the parents' time and cause of death. The defense did not dispute that the parents were killed, but argued aspects of intent and premeditation, attempting to challenge how directly and conclusively the evidence tied to Joel Jr. Because the details of the crime were disturbing, the judge repeatedly warned the public and jurors and reporting outlets were mindful of content warnings. Nevertheless, the central issue remained clear, whether Joel Jr. intentionally and knowingly carried out the crime. On October 2nd, 2020, after less than 4 hours of deliberation, the jury found Joel Michael Jr. guilty of all counts, including 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder, 2 counts of felony murder, and abuse of a corpse. Tennessee law mandates life imprisonment for first-degree murder convictions. Because there are 2 victims, the judge ordered 2 consecutive life sentences, effectively ensuring that Joel Jr. will spend the rest of his life in prison. Additional sentencing was added for the abuse of corpse charges, though these were largely symbolic compared to the life sentences. The Guy daughters, who lost both parents and their only brother in the same act, spoke in court about the overwhelming grief the crime caused. They described their parents as loving and supportive, emphasizing that the loss was made even more painful by the fact that their brother had been responsible. Their statements revealed a family trying to make sense of an event that had shattered their lives. The Knoxville community responded with compassion and sorrow. Neighbors who had known the Guys for years expressed disbelief that anything like this could happen, especially during the Thanksgiving season. The case also sparked broader discussions about mental health resources for families with adult children struggling to become independent, the financial and emotional pressures faced by aging parents, the importance of community awareness and support systems. While the crime itself was deeply tragic, many noted the professionalism and care demonstrated by law enforcement and the district attorney's office in handling such a difficult case. The Guy family Thanksgiving murder stand as one of Tennessee's most widely publicized domestic homicide cases of the 21st century. Yet, the lasting lessons are not about the crime itself, but about the vulnerability of even loving families, the unpredictable outcomes of financial stress and emotional strain, and the importance of mental health, stability, and proactive communication within families. In educational and legal contexts, the case is sometimes studied for its evidentiary trail and the premeditation demonstrated through written planning. For the public, however, it remains a somber reminder of how unexpected tragedy can strike even the most ordinary households. The story of the Guy family is heartbreaking, not because of sensational details, but because it represents the shattering of a warm, ordinary family during what should have been a joyful holiday. Thanksgiving is meant to be a moment of gratitude, belonging, and connection. For the Guy family's surviving daughters, the date now holds memories that are irrevocably altered. In reflecting on this case, it is important to focus not on the violence, but on the humanity of Joel and Lisa Guy, their years of hard work, their love for their children, and the lasting impact they left on their community. Their tragedy also reminds us that behind every headline are real people, real families, and real communities who deserve compassion, respect, and remembrance. Wow.
Yeah. Wow,
I
it's
mean,
right.
But these poor people, and they weren't that old. He was 61, she was 55. They had sold their house. They obviously had been very good with their money, all throughout the years. And they were going to move back to his mother's, the house he grew up in, which I'm sure was already paid for. And, they had budgeted, like they were very astute. They figured out how much money they needed to retire. They figured out that they could retire. The one catch was that they had to cut off that piece of shit, who was, by the way, 28 years old and still attending college. I think he was like a 10th year freshman.
I mean, talk about having a pain in the ass, unappreciative kid. Well, what a disgrace to kill your parents on Thanksgiving. I mean, that's just that's just disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
Wow.
That piece of shit. I hope he rots in jail. Should have. I hope somebody stuffs their turkey neck into him. I hope somebody stuffs their turkey neck every friggin' night in his. You know what? Yeah. Thanksgiving every night for you, bitch.
It's mind blowing though. I mean, what really made me laugh was his attorney at his closing argument was saying how there was reasonable doubt, and like, I mean, I'm surprised nobody in the gallery was laughing, because it was the most ridiculous. I mean, like, where did you go to law school? This guy, like, I think he took like an online class like 10 minutes before the court, and he got his law degree.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, how much evidence? I mean, the bins, I think, that they found the bodies in, they showed Joel buying them like a day or two before. The notebook with all the details and the motive why he was going to kill them. Because he knew that they were going to. I guess one of them had a $500,000 policy.
Oh.
What? I mean, go and get a freaking job. What is wrong with you?
I know. 28 years old.
You're really going to get away with it, in 2016 or whenever it was. There's no way.
I mean, look at, all you have to do is put the news on at night and look at all these friggin' retard kids in the streets holding up Palestine flags. And I mean, they're fucking retards. They're fucking retards. Holding up Palestine flags.
Well, they have a lot of spare time on their hands. And, like, my theory is when you have spare time on your hands is when you get yourself in trouble. And that's why I'm always busy, because in my case, it's a little bit different. I keep busy for a different reason. But I mean, throughout the history of my life, I've always done better when I kept myself occupied. You have nothing to do. Yep. You're gonna think of the wrong thing to do. In this case, like this guy, hopefully he learned something in 10 years at LSU that could have got him some kind of job, right?
You would think, but apparently not.
Well, I mean, you look at all the young kids that are in New York City and in Chicago with the Palestine flags and fighting ISIS. I mean, 75% of them probably live in their parents' cellar. They don't have jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
So I live in Rainham, Massachusetts. I don't know if anybody out there in podcast land is around here, but not too long ago in Middleborough, Massachusetts, which is the town next to me, a kid killed his stepfather, I believe, with a knife because they're arguing over a steak. And I believe he stabbed him to death over a steak. Fucking piece of shit. Yeah. Stabbed him over a piece of steak. But unfortunately, it's the parents, not in this case. I don't know this case, but I mean, you look at all these kids marching in the streets. Half of them are living in the basement of their parents.
Yeah.
They're probably on the system. Ignorant, selfish. You know what? If you don't like it here, there's 50 states with planes leaving every day. Get the fuck out of here and
go somewhere else. See how you like it. But I wonder if these people curse themselves, because when they got married, it was his second marriage, the senior. And he had 3 daughters from a previous marriage, and Joel was their only child. And I'm sure this guy, that he grew up. I mean, he didn't just become a piece of shit on Thanksgiving. I'm sure it was long before that. And I bet he was. I mean, apparently she was still working just to float him and pay his bills. But the sad part is, like I said, they had sold their house. They had to play. They were, getting ready to move. And not only that, she didn't show up for work that Monday, right? That Friday was going to be her last day. And that Monday they were having a party for her. The day she didn't show up, they're having a goodbye party for her.
Oh, that's awful.
All because this piece of shit doesn't want to work like everybody else.
So he was pissed that they sold the house and were moving.
Because they like I said, they budgeted they were very, conservative.
So they were leaving him behind. They were leaving him behind.
It wasn't so much leaving him behind because he lived in Louisiana. They lived in Tennessee. They were moving to another home in Tennessee, which really was irrelevant because he lived, in a different state. The problem was that they were cutting him off financially.
Cutting him off. Yep.
Because they needed that money to live on in their retirement because they weren't, their income was going to be, significantly reduced. They didn't have their jobs anymore. Now,
I hope he has
Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
The original Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder.
Yeah, I love it. Great movie.
Ed Albertson, right, played Grandpa Joe. Now, to me, he was the biggest, laziest piece of shit of all time because, he laid on that bed, getting bed sores on his ass, watching true crime maybe, until that one day when Charlie came home with that winning ticket and he got shot in the ass and he, started moonwalking, hitting his head on the ceiling. Like, why couldn't you have gotten a job all these years, laying in bed? But now, now that the kid got the winning ticket, to me, I call him gravy trainers. He was the biggest gravy trainer of all time. I think this kid gives him a run for his money.
I agree.
You're right.
Yeah, their biggest mistake was letting it be known, and I'm really surprised that they did let it be known to everybody that they were cutting him off. I'm very surprised. I think I would have told him then and told nobody else. I don't think it's like neighbors or co-workers' business. I think that was the biggest mistake, is bringing it up ahead of time. Although I don't think it would have saved their lives. I think maybe he would have done it differently, but I think he still would have done it.
Do you think that he was mentally ill and it was something they just weren't, they figured, all right, you're away in college, we're throwing you money, you're out of our hair. Do you think they didn't deal with it properly enough?
That's a good point. That's a good point, because sometimes these parents, like Dr. Frankenstein, they create these kids. They create them and let them, because I know a few in my family like this, but they create these kids that are fucking lazy and get used to the money and get used to it, getting everything paid for them. And then one day, you know what? You got to be an adult and it just fucks them all up. What?
Right.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, these people.
Ding, 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 ding. I got to get a job. Ding, 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 ding.
Brittany, I remember that one time you told me about how you book your appointments and how precise you are, and you put it in the book, and then you set reminders, and then you set reminders to trigger the other reminders. And I gotta believe that these people, I cannot believe they did not communicate to this kid. All right, now keep in mind we're going to retire a year from now. And then keep in mind we're going to retire 6 months from now. Keep in mind, hey, we just sold the house. It's going to be a couple. Get ready. And I'm sure they did all of that. And this kid just, he just wanted to do it his way.
Yep. He planned it all. He had enough notice that he planned it all. He just didn't plan the cleanup, etc.
Good point, Mrs. P. I think what she's saying here is that they enabled him. And you think that's, I would tend to agree with that.
I agree 100%, because I moved out and got my own 2-bedroom apartment when I was 16 and a half.
Wow.
What in God's name is a 28-year-old doing living off his parents? Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, 16 and a half?
Wow.
Yeah, as soon as I got my license, boom.
Where did you go? Where does a blonde bombshell go to live at 16 and a half?
I moved to Cohasset. One town away. I took my yellow lab and moved to a 2-bedroom apartment in Cohasset with my dog.
And I bet you worked your ass off.
I did.
At 16 and a half. You were smart enough. Even then you were smart enough to know how the system worked.
Exactly. And I had nobody enabling me, because you don't know until you're enabled. You don't know how you're going to react to that. I mean, maybe I would have sat back and went, oh, life is sweet. I'll just stay here. But I wanted my own independence. I wanted to make my own rules. I mean, I was writing my own. See, exactly, just like Denise. Exactly.
Yeah, your mom did
Every
a great job.
goal,
Wow, 26. That's fantastic.
yep, every goal she ever set for herself, there was buying the home, and then there was getting a BMW convertible on top of the vehicle that she already had. But she had those goals set for herself, and she did every one of them on time by herself, not with anybody else's help. She did it all by herself because she was not enabled, just like I was not enabled, just like you guys were not enabled.
No, I started working when I was 14 and a half. I worked at my dad was a service manager at a car dealership. And, and this is 1970. And back then there were no computers. So, any repair order was on a carbon, paper repair order. And then,
Yep.
they were file. I was the file clerk, but I did so many different things. Like I would make sure a customer after their service, I would make sure I washed their car. Like I had the dealership had the license plate frames. I put them on every single car. I look for things to do. My dad taught me how to write up customers, how to answer the phone. I mean, and the thing was, even at 14 and a half, I was very sensitive of the fact that people were going to say, well, you just got the job because your dad's the service manager. I wanted to make sure I worked twice as hard as everybody else, because then they couldn't really say that. And yeah, I mean, my dad always said, if you don't want to work hard, there's 10 people waiting for a job that will. And every job I've ever had, I approached it that way.
Yep.
My first job, I was 15 years old. It was at the Dog Pound in Brockton on Court Street. And my job, I was still going to school. And my job was to go in there, feed the dogs, all the dogs, make sure they had water, and take the hose and clean each kennel down. They had the big drain in the middle of each kennel and drain all the poop, clean everything. That was my first job.
That was a shitty job, literally.
Yeah. And then they'd give me a beer. They'd give me a beer at the end of the day. Narragansett. We used to drink Narragansett beer. We'd have a beer at the end of the day.
No glamour in that job, but you showed up every day and you did it, right?
I love that job. I used to love the animals. Kidding me? I love to take it. That didn't bother me. And when you start getting money at 15, the money, you start getting money, you get used to working.
I made a whopping, because during the summer I'd work 40 hours. I made a whopping $64 a week. But in 1970, $64
that was a lot of money.
15-year-old kid was good money. I always had money in my pocket. It was a nice feeling.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Not to be graphic, but because you know me, I don't like to be graphic.
Right. No, we know that. We know that, Dave.
I'm a Catholic, but I hope this guy got a cellmate named Big Bubba, and Big Bubba brings some gravy into the cell, and tells him, "Hey, get on all fours. It's time for your turkey neck. It's Thanksgiving." And pours the fucking gravy for some lubrication.
Oh.
How about
Yeah.
Maybe John Holmes Sr. John Holmes Jr. rather in the cell with him.
There you go.
Call him Tom Turkey because you're getting him now, bitch. I hope so for what he did to his parents.
I gotta think. I mean, thank God, never spent a day in jail or prison, but I have to think there is some kind of code of ethics in a prison where, like, they have to, somebody who robbed a bank has got to look at that guy a lot differently. You killed your parents,
I know.
Not only did he kill him, but the way he killed him was horrible. Wasn't like he just shot them and left. I mean, he really. I mean, it was horrible. We spared people a lot of the graphic details. It was not very pretty.
No, it wasn't. You're right. We spared them the details. That's disgusting on Thanksgiving.
All right, JMB 9.5 first paper route. Yep. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and I bet you, all of us, when you work that hard as a youth, you're going to work that hard your whole life. You're setting an early pattern of how you're going to conduct yourself.
Absolutely. And I agree with that because I had like a certain group of friends, and I knew the ones back then at that age when I was a teenager. I knew the ones that were going to be successful and the ones that weren't, just based on the way they were brought up and whether or not they worked as a teenager. And every one of them was exactly what I expected.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And in that regard, I have to thank my parents.
Definitely.
Like every
God
day
bless. Yep.
for teaching me respect, number one, both to give respect and demand respect. And then number two, to make sure that I always worked hard and paid my own way in life.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank God. Thank God for our parents. Thank God for my
Oh,
parents.
yeah.
God, especially my mother. God rest her soul. When I see these dopes, these young kids dopes on the streets of New York, Chicago, holding Palestinian flags and trying to fight ISIS, and like, you bunch of fucking morons. That's
You know
what you are.
what, Dave? It's really funny when I see like young kids like that. The very first thing I think of is, where are your parents?
I know.
They're probably strung out at home or working 2 jobs and taking care of the kid, or they're on welfare, or
Yeah.
You never know. I know.
not to label anybody, but
Yeah.
That's right,
know.
Denise.
Denise, you are so blessed that your mom is still with you too. I mean, I every day, if I won Powerball and I could trade my winnings for one afternoon with my mom, it would be a no-brainer. I'd give the money up in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
I would do that too. I'd have another wish. I'd give all the money up for my mother, plus maybe, a few luscious girls in a sauna, maybe with some massage oil and grapes. And well, you know the rest.
Yeah, we know the rest. All right. Well, speaking of that, so we're gonna share some Thanksgiving memories. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I'll tell you what, growing up, Thanksgiving in my house, I'm going to tell you right now I'm telling you, as old as I can remember, to this Thursday, football every Thanksgiving in the house. And it'll be like that till the day I die. That for I can remember, the Macy's Day Parade and football every morning. But I hate to say it, just my opinion. The Macy's Day Parade is not what it used to be. I think it's gotten too political. But growing up, the Macy's Day, and we'll still watch it this Thursday. It will still be on, but it's not like it used to be. But I used to go on and you got to remember, back when I grew up, we only had one TV in the house. It's like one good
Same
TV
here.
in the house. It was in the living room, so we were all there watching the same thing. And the Macy's Day Parade, and you could smell the turkey cooking and all the trimmings cooking while the Macy's Day Parade was on. And then 12:30 was football for the rest of the day. And sometimes after we ate, we'd go out and throw the football between games, and
Yes. Yeah.
we'd go out in the yard and throw the football and try to emulate whoever you thought that you liked for a quarterback back then. And I cherish the times. My grandmother used to make this stuffing, and I know people are going to say, "Oh, that's fucking gross." I'm going to tell you something. She used to take the giblets, these giblets and all the stuff that comes out of the turkey, and she'd mix it in a blender so it becomes liquid, almost liquefied, and she would put that in the stuffing, homemade stuffing. And I'm going to tell you something. That gave it so much flavor. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. I can remember that. And that's a lot of my memories growing up on Thanksgiving. And then as I got older, I just, you fall asleep, take a little nappy doos, because what's that stuff that's in the turkey? Terrible, what's it called?
Tryptophan.
That makes you sleep. Tryptophan makes you sleep.
Amino acid, yes.
Makes you sleepy. Yeah. And so I'm very grateful this Thursday. I'll be in Connecticut with Terrible Tori and my grandkids, and and Ronald Esposito, the junior.
Can't forget him. Yep. He said he was thankful for this podcast. He's a great guy.
Yep. And
Yes.
my daughter, the genius, and Joseph will be staying back this holiday to spend it with his family, and it'll be a great holiday.
Absolutely.
Well, Dave, can you tell us about 2011 Thanksgiving?
Yes. Yeah. Tori asked you about that.
2011. I think that's when I
Yes.
turned to 2011 Thanksgiving. That's kind of in my darker days. 2011. Huh. I got to go back there. I got to think about that one.
Now, that's only
2000
14 years ago.
Yeah. 2000. Well, something should be left
Evidently,
unsaid.
Tori remembers it very well.
Yeah. Something should be left unsaid within the family.
Oh,
I don't know, mate.
Here we go. Ooh,
What'd she say?
I was in an ambulance.
She said she was in an ambulance.
Right.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that 2011. So yeah, I went to Connecticut. My granddaughter was 9, 10. It was 2, and terrible Tori was experimenting with some type of hallucinant, and we had to call an ambulance on Thanksgiving Day, and the ambulance had to come and bring her to, I believe, Yale University Hospital. I tried to, while she was out of it, on the ambulance, the thing they bring in there, the cot. I tried to fix her up. There was a young guy there that was driving the ambulance. I tried to fix her up with him. Asked her if he was single. Like, even though my daughter's passed out right now, she's a good kid. You want to date her, and he kind of,
even though she's unconscious.
yeah, well, unconscious, I just, I was trying to, get terrible Tori to, get engaged. And so, yeah, so they had to rush terrible Tori to the hospital. I had to stay back with my granddaughter. That was a memorable Thanksgiving.
But she
Wow.
she survived.
Yeah, the ambulance guy didn't take the offer. No, he
Oh.
passed. Yeah,
She did all
he
right.
passed.
She said this Espo guy seems like a pretty decent guy.
Yes, Ronald John Esposito's good. Both of them good. Are good. Joseph Brian Landry is a good guy. I'm very thankful that this Thanksgiving, both my daughters got good guys, and they're hard workers and good providers, and I'm blessed to have both of them in my life.
Yes, absolutely. How about you, Brittany? Anything good for Thanksgiving?
Well, we were kind of like the Cleavers, believe it or not. So we watched the Macy's Day Parade, of course. And then we headed to Nana and Grandpa's house, which was always amazing. The food was amazing. And we just had such a good time every year. And it's the same thing that we did at Christmas, we always went to Nana and Grandpa's, and that's how it always was. And so when they left us, obviously, that completely changed everything. And then, of course, when the parents left us, that changed things even more. So those of you, like Benny said earlier, those of you that do have grandparents and parents still are very, very lucky.
Absolutely.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Terrible Tori was roofied. I don't know what. I guess she was roofied when she went out at the bar. She got roofied.
So she wasn't experimenting with hallucinogenics. She was actually roofied.
Yeah. Do you know what that means?
Yes, that means you got drugged.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
I mean, that's criminal.
That is criminal. And that's one thing I learned.
Jail for that.
Yeah. And I learned that being in the wrestling business. I never would have known what that even meant if it wasn't for professional wrestling.
Wow.
I knew to take my drink with me to the bathroom or be done with the drink and order a new one when I got back, because nope, that was a very typical thing. Very typical.
Just to let you know, I wasn't going to let that spoil the Thanksgiving dinner. While she was roofied and being taken out on the ambulance, the turkey came out great. the stuffing. I don't know about anybody out there. I'm going to throw this out at you. You might think that I'm kind of fucked up or whatever, but personally, I love stovetop stuffing. If you were to ask me, do I want stovetop stuffing or homemade stuffing, I'll take stovetop any day. But as they got her out on the ambulance and brought her to Yale University, the dinner was beautiful. I went on with the dinner with my granddaughter, and it was a beautiful dinner. Watched football. I believe the Patriots were playing the Detroit Lions. You can look that one up. I think the Patriots were playing the Detroit Lions.
Patriots have won 9 in a row.
10 now.
Yeah.
Oh, 10?
Yeah.
10
Okay.
altogether.
Wow.
Yeah.
10-2, I think. I did
10
some
and 2.
research because that's my biggest. I tell everybody Thanksgiving to me was no big deal because in my house every day was Thanksgiving. I grew up in an Italian restaurant, so I mean as far as food went, I mean we did have a lot on Thanksgiving, but my biggest thing was like Dave said, it was always the Detroit Lions and it was the Dallas Cowboys, and I did some research, and I think the Lions have had a Thanksgiving game since 1934. So they're going like on 91 years. And the Cowboys started in 66. So they're going on like 59 years. But it was always yeah, now they have a third game in the evening and it's not, but they still every year Detroit and Dallas get to host those games. And now, after or even while we were stuffing our faces, we were like Dave said, we only had one TV in the house and it was in the family room, but there was like a nice sized coffee table where you could sit down and eat. So we were allowed to eat and watch. I mean, I was allowed to eat and watch football. And that was like,
Ooh.
I mean, yeah, I'm thinking like I have no school a 4-day weekend, right? There no school on Black Friday, even though it wasn't
Right.
Black. We didn't call it Black Friday. We just called it, we had a day off back then. But, I had a 4-day weekend and I'm watching football. And I mean, life was good. Didn't have any bills.
Yeah.
My back didn't hurt. Right.
Right.
My hair was black. I mean, wasn't this long, but
Right. I remember a few times after Thanksgiving dinner when my puberties were kicking in. I had to sneak away and go up into the room because kind of sleepy, but I had Farrah Fawcett and Mrs. Roper on the wall there. And well, you know the rest. I don't want to, the rest,
That's so you had like back, like right side by side, you had Farrah Fawcett and you had Mrs. Roper.
I had them both in my room on the wall. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And I had my, their hormonals were kicking in there when I was, there in puberty. I had to sneak away after dinner and, look at the posters. Let's put it that way.
Am I saying what she wore right? Is it called a muumuu, Brittany, that she wore those?
I think that's probably the best way to describe
like
what she wore. Yeah.
Kind of thing, but hers were pretty nice,
Yes. Yeah. They were a step above a house coat, so to speak.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of felt bad for Mr. Roper because I don't know. I mean, I guess if you think she was desirable, I was going to say you had Chrissy Snow, Suzanne Summers, one flight of stairs up. I mean, I don't know how I could resist that.
I know.
And then I almost set the house on fire 6 years ago in Connecticut because Terrible Tory put the stuffing and the fixings in the oven, in the box to save it for Thursday. And I put the oven on to cook one night. And it all caught on fire.
Wait, the box was put in the oven?
Yes.
Oh, that's not
yes.
good.
Tell me that. I have arguments with Terrible Tory on this. Why are you putting this stuff in the oven? Why do you have the stuffing and everything in the oven? Why? I don't get it.
That's different. But my guess is she probably did that for space.
Yeah, but you don't put things in the oven. Well, they caught on fire. It was a little smoky in the kitchen.
Now, when was this? How long ago was this?
Well, 4 years ago, maybe.
All right, so Tori wasn't 9 years old. She was an adult at that time.
Yeah, she was an adult. Thank you. She was an adult. You should know better not to put stuff in the oven. Thank you.
See? That's what I thought, and I'm not even Italian.
Yeah.
But
Wait,
I
wanna
thought
get-
it was
I want to get back to this
breakfast
for a second. Not that. Hang on. This. I don't know. Is that true? You think?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not Larry.
No.
No.
No, she wanted
No.
Jack.
I think Larry thought
Yeah.
that all the girls wanted him, but I don't think any of them did. I think it was more like, he was
I
delusional.
agree. He was the delusional neighbor for
Right.
sure. There's always
I
one.
believe. Yeah, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, my daughters were out somewhere in Connecticut eating, and he was at the restaurant eating. Also,
Larry?
Larry. I think he's from Connecticut, in that area. I could be wrong, but I think he's from around that area. He was in a restaurant eating, the restaurant they went in.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Angela's and Larry. Yep.
They were all funny. Each of them in their own way was very entertaining, I thought.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I love when Mr. Roper, like when he would turn to the camera with that shit-eating grin on his face. That was the best.
It was. It was awesome.
Well, I'll tell you, tonight, like we were talking about earlier, tonight is I don't know if anybody out there ever watched Everybody Loves Raymond, but tonight is they're having a special on it tonight, the cast that's alive. They're having a special I think it starts at 8. 20 years after. Everybody Loves Raymond's been off the air for 20 years. I'll be watching that. I guess I'll have to go between that and the JFK. They have a special on JFK tonight also, opposite that. I'm very fascinated with that because, as you know, I'm fascinated with true crime. This is the book I'm reading right now. Brittany has lent me this book, Karen Reed, Mass Corruption. I can't wait to dig into it once I get into it. But I was always fascinated with JFK. I still believe Lyndon Johnson had something to do with that. Just happened to be in his home state where he was a powerful senator that this happened in, and he was vice president. So I guess I'll have to channel search.
I don't think we'll ever really know the truth in our lifetime. Maybe some year it'll come out, like, after we're long gone. But I think that I will always believe there's a lot more to this than we know and we've been told.
I agree.
Well, I believe, like, the kids today, like, I believe the Charlie Kirk assassination is a modern day JFK, because I do not believe the kid on the roof killed him. I will not believe that. You can't tell me he did it. I believe the kid on the roof is a modern day Lee Harvey Oswald. He took the fall. They set him up. That's just my opinion.
Yep.
But why Jack Ruby would shoot him and kill him, knowing he'd be going at 50-something years old, owning a strip joint, knowing he was going to go to jail and never get out, makes me believe the mafia was involved in it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's so funny. We talked about it before the show. I mean, that was on live TV. That happened on live TV. Oswald getting shot, just like so was RFK in 1968. I saw that before I went to school one morning, and I think it was June of '68.
Jeez.
Yeah, unbelievable.
My God.
So, Playa, at Thanksgiving, Playa, did the Italians? Did you have fish at all there, or?
Nope. Had the same thing you did. No, we had when we do our Christmas episode. Now that was a whole different story. But I'll save that story for then. No, we had the traditional turkey, stuffing, and my mom would make her own stuffing as well. Unbelievable, mashed potatoes, the usual. But I almost forgot. And do you guys ever watch The Munsters?
Oh yeah,
of course.
Now, my favorite episode was the Thanksgiving episode. And the whole pretense behind it was Herman, his army reunion was coming up, and he wanted to fit in his jacket, right? And in his army uniform. And it was a little bit snug, so he had to go on a diet. And there's a scene I don't know if you remember the episode. Grandpa is at the kitchen table talking about like everything that stuffed celery, and at the end it says, "Don't forget the pumpkin pie," and Herman says, "Pumpkin pie," and he just falls backwards in his chair. So they go out to eat so as not to torture him, but they leave him strapped to this gurney, and but they leave the TV on, and of course the TV there was a cooking show on, and he's watching this, and he just goes nuts. And let me.
That was a great episode. I remember that episode clearly.
Yeah, Grandpa was kind of a rat. He was a rat bastard, I think. He was a heel.
Yeah, definitely.
But so Herman walked through the wall of the next door neighbor's house, and he sat himself down and he helped himself to their turkey.
I've seen that episode many times. Great episode.
My favorite episode of the Munsters is when he decides to become the Masked Marvel. And he winds up doing the job for everybody because they give him the sob story,
right?
Including he wrestled Judo Gene LaBelle was one of his opponents,
right?
Absolutely,
right.
I like the names. Like one of them was Genghis Cohen. It wasn't Genghis Khan. It was Genghis Cohen.
Oh,
but if he lost the match, his sister's banjo would be repossessed, and she'd be kicked out of the Boston Symphony. So, Herman would just like go on his back.
That's the best.
The one other thing I make too at Thanksgiving time every year is I make my famous celery with cream cheese and paprika. I make a big plate of those. Terrible Tori. She likes to make this. I have never even heard of this until about 7 years ago. She makes this charcuterie board. I don't know if anybody else did.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. She makes this big, huge charcuterie board with all cheeses and olives and all types of stuff on there.
So Tori likes different strokes, and then let's see, the coach likes. Where is he?
Oh, Barney Miller.
Welcome Back, Kotter was a great show too. I wasn't that big a fan of Great American Hero. Except for the
Mr. Cartier.
Yeah, Mr. Cartier. And Arnold and Vinny. Hey, Arnold, act dumb like me. I do it all the time, yeah. Vinny Barbarino. And Barney Miller to me is one of the best TV shows ever.
In real life, my brother in New York City went out with Arnold in real life for a little bit before he died.
Ron Palillo was his real name.
Yeah, my brother dated him for a little bit before he passed away. That's a true story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Ooh, that sounds good.
Ooh,
man,
that sounds really good.
Sound very good,
doesn't it? You'll have to share that recipe.
Oh,
yes, please. Yeah, we'll take it.
We'll take it. Right.
A pumpkin cream mousse.
Mousse.
Oh, that sounds good.
I know.
I'm so basic. Like just give me a pumpkin pie with some Cool Whip on it,
I know. Yeah. That's why it sounded so good. Because it's like, oh, that's different because I love pumpkin pie. I bet you pumpkin mousse is great.
Oh God, that'd be yep.
I'm so boring, I mean, I just stick to,
apple pie, pumpkin pie. We got one of each all the time.
Have you guys ever had icebox cake?
No.
All right, my mom made that. And, oh God, it was very. All she would do is, I guess, you crush up graham crackers, you put that on the bottom, and then you put a layer of like chocolate pudding, and then you put another layer of the graham crackers, and then another layer of chocolate. You do like about 3 or 4 layers of each, and then you cover it with whipped cream and just put it in the fridge.
Wow, that's different.
God, it's like crack.
What's that cake the Italians eat? It comes in a box. You see it at Walmart sometimes. Comes in a box.
I mean, not cannolis.
No, it's a special type of cake. The Italians
I know the one you mean. Rocky bought it every year.
Not tiramisu. That's not Italian, I don't think. Anyway.
No, it comes in. You see it at Walmart.
Yep, it's a weird shaped box.
Right, it's a weird shaped box,
Yeah,
and the cake is in
You
there.
got me.
The Pink Assassin gave it to me one year. He goes, "This is an Italian cake the Italians eat at the holidays."
See, she
I
said,
didn't like it.
but no, I don't know. I don't know if tiramisu is Italian. It is great. It's great stuff, but
Yeah,
I'll
it
have to
is.
take
It is
a
good.
I'll have to take a picture when I see it in the story. So you know what I mean, Brittany, right? It's like
I do because Rocky bought it every year.
it's almost like on the idea of a banana cake, but it's not a banana cake. It comes in this weird box.
Yeah, it's like an
Yeah.
octagon shape. Like
well,
had
we might have a winner.
Yeah.
Is that it?
that might be it.
Yeah, I think that does sound
I
familiar.
think that
now.
is it.
That's got to be. I've never had that, but that was. Yeah, I'm sure that's epic.
Wow, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not either.
I'm not
but
either, Tori.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
not,
believe
I'm not,
her.
but, like, I will
No,
make the rare exception.
She's slinging the bullshit. Don't believe her. She'll sit there and have pie with me while we're watching TV. Don't believe her. Her favorite thing I got to get to her when I go to Connecticut at Big Y is a European strawberry laid cake. I have to get. So don't be talking bullshit.
Mrs. P's.
You know what? Mrs. P is probably right. I'll bet you that's it.
I'm gonna go with that.
She knows.
Panettone?
Pantone. I think that's it. Yeah.
Panettone, yeah.
Yep.
That-
Yep. That's the
it.
one that Rocky used to buy every year. And he's the only person I've ever known that bought that.
Yeah, I never knew what it was till the Pink Assassin, who's Italian, gave it to me one year. I was like, "What?" He said, "Try this. It's Pantone. That's it."
Was
it any good?
I didn't like it.
I never
no.
ate it.
I didn't like it.
How did he become the Pink Assassin?
Huh?
Why was he the Pink Assassin?
His real name was Bob Shoup. He went to school at Kowalski's with us. He adopted the gimmick, the Pink Assassin. He was very good at it.
Kind of odd.
He
Pink
played.
Assassin, but okay.
Well, he played a gay character, so he wore.
All right, there you go. I got you.
He wore a hood. He dressed all in pink mask. And he called himself the Pink Assassin. Great gimmick. He played the gimmick. To a T. Had many matches with him. Pink
Absolutely.
Assassin.
All right. A lot of chat tonight in the room. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's gonna hit the refrigerator after the show. I'm getting hungry.
I know, right?
Yeah,
everybody's gonna want that pumpkin mousse.
Yeah, that does sound very good. Yep.
The only thing I got in there is those. What do you call those? Klondike bars. That's all I got in the refrigerator.
They're not bad.
Oh,
I can resist anything but carrot cake or cheesecake.
Yeah. That's tough.
Those are my kryptonite. Cannot resist. And tomorrow, I will be on my diet 1 year tomorrow. I mean, that's
good for you. Congratulations.
I mean, at this point, it's not really a diet. Now it's just a lifestyle. You know what I mean?
It's a lifestyle. Exactly. You've adopted a lifestyle.
Right. Which I think is the best way to do it, because you don't want to do these fad diets or the crash diets, because your body catches up to it and eventually revolts. And you want to put it in most cases anyway, putting the weight back on. So the best way to do it, just, slow and steady, same way you gained it,
Yeah, exactly.
You gained it a couple extra calories a day at a time, lose it the same way. And it's a lot easier on your body. Yeah.
Slow and steady.
I have no idea how much I weigh, although I was doing a questionnaire online and it said, how tall are you? I put 5'9", and then, I guessed I put 205 for my weight. I have no idea. I might be 210, 211. I can hold a lot of weight because I've been lifting weights for years. But it said that you're not morbidly. It said you are very obese. You should be between 128 and 163 pounds.
What?
And, yeah, I'm thinking like at 163, even at 128, I'm looking like one of the kids in the infomercials with Sally Struthers.
Exactly.
That has the flies swirling around them. There's no way that ain't happening. I weighed 128 pounds in junior high school.
What's terrible Tori making for me Thursday? What's she say? I can't read it.
Pumpkin cheesecake.
Ooh.
Oh,
wow.
Okay. Pumpkin cheesecake. That sounds good.
You better send us a picture of that, Dave.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly
Well,
right, Coach. Yep, you don't gain
that's
it in a
right,
day.
Coach.
You can't lose it in a day, and your body is very smart. You think you can fool it, but any of these bad diets, and even when you start going down, like people go down to a thousand calorie a day diet, $1,000 a day diet would be great, but 1,000 calorie a day diet, what your body does at that point, it thinks that you're starving it, and it just slows your metabolism down. So now and your metabolism is what burns the calories off. So you really defeated the whole purpose.
Exactly. And so many people do that.
Right.
Oh, you sound just like Jack LaLanne when you explain that.
Except I don't own any leotards or those little slippers that he has.
Yeah.
Remember that outfit he had? Was it like a onesie?
Yeah. It was a
how did he pee? Did he have a little flap when he had to pee, or like
maybe he had a bag? Maybe he had a bag on. Who knows?
Maybe he wore a diaper,
Oh, gross.
I think you would have didn't I heard that he at 87 years old he swam with a and he pulled a boat with his teeth or something incredible.
Yeah, that guy was nuts. He was nuts. He was nuts before nuts was nuts.
Him.
He was nuts before nuts was nuts.
Yeah, but I mean the guy lived to and he looked, even in his 80s, he looked better than people half his age. So
yep, he did.
But you really you have to balance, like I do. I watch a lot of what I eat, but like today at Grandma Sally's, I felt like having pancakes, so I had pancakes. I mean, you kind of you can't deprive yourself totally, because then you're miserable. And then at some point you're going to go off the wagon and binge, and then you'll
definitely,
and then you'll start putting the weight right back on. So you have to, like, even for Thanksgiving, I'm going to eat whatever the heck I want, and as much of it as I want. And then the next few days I'll eat a little bit less, get right back on track.
There you go.
No, I'll tell you what, there's no restrictions on me this Thursday, starting Thursday through the weekend. No restrictions at all.
Now, Dave, is the carnival closed on Thursday?
The carnival's going to be closed for the holiday. Yes. All I want to do is watch football, eat the Macy's Day Parade, and then maybe take a little power nap. Sometimes you got to take a little power nap,
Oh yeah, you right in the lazy boy. You just conk out while you're watching.
There you go.
Right. I have my own room, which the linens better be clean. I want clean linens. Terrible Tori, if you're listening, clean the linens. My own. I sleep in my grandson's bedroom. I have the bed for the few days, so nice TV in there too at night.
I'm thinking Terrible Tori is probably like a marvelous host.
Yes,
I'm sure. I gotta believe that.
She is. Yes, she is. I have to give her credit, especially that charcuterie board she makes. It's incredible.
Is that with the provolone cheese and maybe the pepperoni and things like that? Or
yeah. Well, she goes and gets the specialty cheeses, and then she just got the chorizo. She'll cook the chorizo up and slices of pepperoni, and I'll take a picture and send it to you guys.
Lovely.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank everybody in the chat room. This was fun. Even though I'm starving now, this was a lot of fun. And we want to wish everybody a very, very safe and happy Thanksgiving, right, guys?
Yes. Absolutely.
Safe travels, wherever you're going.
I want to say thanks. Meeting you two guys for me has been an absolute treasure. So thank you for your friendship. I am very, very appreciative of that.
Thank you. Right back at you.
I appreciate the show. I love doing the podcast. I love the people out there in the podcast land, and everybody have a great Thanksgiving. And if you're traveling, be careful. Be aware of your whereabouts, your surroundings, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Yes. All right, guys. Have a great evening, and we will see you next crime. Good night, folks.
Bye, Denise. Bye, Mrs. P.
Mrs.
Bye,
P.
everyone.
Bye. Terrible talk.